There'll always be a China, and China won't be free. If China means as much to you as Hong Kong means to China. Red, red, and red. What does it mean to red? Red, 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 red. China away. Thank you. That was a very shoddy parody of the Vera Lynn classic, as many of you know. There'll always be an England, and England shall be free. But England is not free at the moment. No, no, not if you want to go inside a church and light a candle for a dead relative. Perhaps a relative who has died of COVID-19. No, no, no. You have to witness their death from afar, or have a funeral service on Skype. Father Damien, many, many years ago, went out amongst the lepers, but today's vicars shut the doors to both the healthy and the sick alike. I did something recently where, Martin Luther King, what would he have done? Had a lunch counter sit-in over Skype? I have a live stream. The way they just surrendered to technology. This is nice, says the Archbishop of Canterbury. It's very nice. I'm going to have Easter service from my kitchen. Oh, and you get to keep Canterbury Cathedral all to yourself. Wow. Well, you got a lot of room to social distance in that. The only person that gets, I guess the cleaners, but by and large, you get to keep all of Canterbury Cathedral to yourself during this crisis. Couldn't find a single way to put 2 meters between people in Canterbury Cathedral. I'm doing it from my kitchen. It's a different Easter. It's part of the new normal. This is the first riffing video I've done in ages, and I'm just going to stick to my guns here. It's many factors. I was just kind of waiting because, like many of us, my thoughts about things and my understanding of things has changed from day to day. But I will say this, there was about a week and a half where I was diligently washing my hands every time I went out and came back, just washing my hands because, it seemed like a pandemic. And, now as many of you in the UK know, Dominic Cummings had to go to Durham. He had to go to Durham on a 260-mile trip twice, 3 times, I don't know. We'll talk about him in a bit. That's the thing. I haven't done, the reason I haven't riffed a lot, I tell you what, I'm doing these riffing videos for the patrons, and I think and they get that. That's one of the things they get every Sunday, is they get a gift where I just, I'm either giving them something I'm working on, like the Paradise Lost project, a book at a time, or my private thoughts about what's going on. And I think because the feedback, I don't know what to expect from feedback sometimes. It might be a little bit of stage fright as well, because I'll tell you one thing, and I love all of you guys, and thank you for subscribing, but there's always a little bit of me that I always get nervous. I mean, even if I was doing a show for 20 people, I would always get nervous, and maybe that helped. Maybe that's what I thrived on. I don't know, but this thing here is so fucking weird, what we're going through, that I wanted to make sure, or at least relatively sure, I kind of had some idea about what this might be about, or where I see things headed. And then again, I also thought, what's the point of having somebody else who just talks? The last 3 videos I put up, I actually thought, if I died, let's say from this virus, I would be happy for those to be the last things that I put up, because it summed up where I saw the world. Right off the bat, I don't even know where to start, man. Fucking hell. See, I do better when I'm doing voice. That's the thing. I prefer to be funny. I prefer to get my ideas out that way. I like to hide behind voices sometimes, and then sometimes I do just like to talk like myself. But because I haven't done this in ages, I'll tell you what. There was a week and a half where I was washing my hands, and then it went to what's the deal with China? This is a communist takeover, because we are acting communistic. I don't think anybody can argue that. And now it's turning into, okay, I'm seeing this from the perspective of the country that I'm at the moment, England. England shall be free, and I'm seeing what
to me looks like kind of taking advantage of a situation. For example, I'm looking across the street there's a care home across the street, and there was a beautiful Edenic garden of weeping willows, which belonged to that care home. And the day that lockdown was announced, construction began on what is going to become 6 luxury homes. Trees were chainsawed down, the foundation pilers were brought in, a bulldozer out there, and this is an ongoing project. So that's all gone. That garden is gone. And it's funny that I'm working on Paradise Lost, and I've just gotten to Eden, which we all know what happens to Eden, the loss of Eden, and all are woe, and all are woe. So, sometimes you can imagine a small town with a beautiful view. I have the best windows now that I've ever had in my life, the best view that I've ever had. I am very, very fortunate. And so, it's very precious to me but I thought the irony of this, of course I deeply care about people in care homes. And then you see that happening. And I know Johnson can't be aware of every single construction project that's going on, but for some reason, it was important to keep construction going or to even ramp it up. And they have said as much many, many times, that government. And I'm going to start off by doing this, talking about things, because nobody wants to admit they're wrong. And this is where I am now. This is what's happening. I have a strong suspicion that they know they overreacted. I think most governments know they overreacted. They might have taken the advice of tech people, right? There are a lot of tech people that like people to stay home and be on Skype, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, and it's called Zoom. And when you walk by a church and you see a sign that says "Worship with us digitally," that means theoretically Bill Gates could always be in control, or the government or science can always be in control of when the church is open or shut. And I don't like that, because as many of you know, that what I think about God is that, whether you believe or not, what God represents to me is the individual connection, something that can never be tampered with, as whatever may pass for freedom outside of that context. Of course you're free. You might have to wear a mask. Of course you can. Yes, it's just like normal. The good old days of eating out. If you could just fill in this contact details form, whatever's going to present itself as normal, I can still in my head, or with old literature, and preferably with old books themselves, so you get that tactile sense, kind of retreat to some actual pure, unsullied sanctuary, even if it is all illusory. You can still maintain that. And for a lot of people, that is through a belief in God. And the churches here have surrendered to the trinity of government, science, and technology. And see, I talk about this stuff. I think another reason, too, I've never been into conspiracy theories. Because I always think conspiracy theories, I always think real life is conspiracy enough. For example, 9/11, yes, if you stick people in a cave with nothing but a holy book and a hatred for Israel and America, yes, eventually they might find a way to hijack planes with box cutters and smash them into buildings. And of course, little college student who made the 9/11 was an inside, what was it called, loose change? Of course, little college student who went on 2020 and said that initially you wanted to make a kind of a Hollywood blockbuster, but you eventually saw things and you made a documentary. The reason you made a fucking documentary, you fucking liar, is because it was cheaper and easier to do a documentary than a Hollywood blockbuster. So you could get your little DJ friend to do some techno music and say, in a normal plane crash, it would have looked like this. Yes, in a normal plane crash. But when it's going 500 miles an hour on purpose into a building, it's not going to look like anything fucking normal, is it? Sorry, that was me. I always imagine they're actually in the room with me sometimes when I get worked up. And that was going about on the internet, and I don't remember anybody saying, this has to be stopped. I don't remember the BBC felt it important to go to YouTube and say you need to stop those videos that saying 9/11 was an inside job. You need to pull those down. I'm not a David Icke fan at all. I think the man is an anti-Semite. I know he's an anti-Israel, guy. He just made some comment the other day about Keir Starmer having his tongue so far up Tel Aviv's arse or something to that effect. I consider him an anti-Semite. Not to mention the lizard thing, and he's also a very slow friggin' speaker, right? But I did find it, despite all of that, I did find it very bizarre to read on the BBC that they had gone to YouTube and said, take this down, and I found it weird that Mark Zuckerberg, I find there is this love, there was this, a de facto love for an internet speed. Now that's not a conspiracy. See, that's not a conspiracy, because I'm not saying whether or not 5G has any, I don't know. I'll say that, and I don't know if that's blasphemous to say or not. I don't know if 5G has any health effects. What I do know is that 5G will have cultural effects. It will make children even stupider. And as a former educator, that is something that means it was bad enough when I was teaching with the rich bureaucrats at the top who don't want to exercise any control over punishment, for example, discipline. Everybody's supposed to get the social promotion, right? The stupid liberality at the top. Not to mention computers in the class. When I taught in Harlem, Puff Daddy came back, because that was his old school, was Adam Clayton Powell Junior High. And he came one day and he presented a bunch of computers to the students, to give back to the community. And they said, Mr. Franken, are you going to go to the computer presentation with Puff Daddy? I said, absolutely not. The last thing these kids need are computers. So it's a surrender mentality, right? Oh, the hip hop star going to give some computers to the kids, show some love back, give them some love. The man who steals other people's music, sews it together, calls it his own, is going to give so they can do that too, right? Because God knows you don't want them reading James Joyce, making intercultural connections somehow. You don't want them to do that. No, you just give them a computer. Give them a bunch of computers. And so here, I'm all over the map, I know this, but I have watched, here's what I've watched this. Let's start off by saying what I was wrong about. I was wrong about Boris Johnson. And I'll tell you why, because it's as simple as I was so fucked off with political correctness, starting in San Francisco and just going all the way. I mean, I never liked political correctness. The first time I heard the term political correctness was when Andrew Dice Clay, I was in Missouri. And one of my friends knew the term, and I said, whatever happened to Andrew Dice Clay? And I must have been 13, 14. And they said, oh yeah, political correctness killed him. And I just thought, well, political correctness is my enemy. Because I was a kid. And I thought he was funny, because we didn't have any New Yorkers where I was from. And that was funny. Hickory dickory dock, some chick was sucking my cock. It was puerile and stupid. It was good for 13, 14-year-old boys. Which is what Comedy Unleashed actually may be good for 13 to 14-year-old boys. Toby Young, that's what he does. Tweets about tits, But then eventually you grow out of it. By the time you get to be a certain age, there got to be something more than like, hey, look at the tits, look at the tits in the House of Commons, tits and tweets. And that's what fucked me up. I said, why are you giving him stage time? Because my first comedy gig was in front of 5 people, but he writes for The Spectator, and he publishes your articles about woke, anti-woke. That's how that works. So he gets to perform in front of 200 people. Who is this motherfucker anyway? So I looked into Toby Young, and I thought, and so there was. Embryonic selection can help improve intelligence in poorer communities. So would you have come to my poor community in the 70s, and would you have selected an embryo that wasn't me on the presumption that I'm coming from a poor background? And you think the NHS should make this available to, who is this creep? And who are you people anyway? And here's where I was with that lot. In 2017, it became apparent to me that they only want to debate. They want nothing resolved, right? And there's still, to this day, throughout the whole coronavirus thing, it's the culture wars must continue. You need to move on beyond that. We're facing something else now. And you need to look at yourselves, because the Academy of Ideas, Claire Fox, the head of this thing, this is the woman that Andy Shaw from Comedy Unleashed, helped found the Brexit Party, got her to Brussels This woman whose Academy of Ideas is in educational institutions all over this country, from the British Library on down, under the idea of free and open debate. Free and open debate. This is how free she is. She doesn't think there should be a government ban on child pornography because she's worried it's a slippery slope. You know, if you allow that, then who's to say one day they say you can't take a picture of your chicken dinner? You know, an overly degreed university moron with no fucking moral compass. And nobody's challenged her on, then where the hell is the freedom for the kid in the child pornography? In your Ian Brady, Myra Hindley scenario, you creep. And every time I write, because she's on Sky News all the time, right? There was debating him on the opening of schools is Claire Fox from the Academy of Ideas, one of the precious people that Andy Shaw and Andrew Doyle got all aflutter when I criticized and said, "What do you think about what she stands for?" You know, which is why they yanked me. They didn't want to be criticized about these people like Toby Young and Claire Fox. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I believe that this mentality has gotten into number 10. We know with this guy, Andrew Sabisky. We know Dominic Cummings, the guy who's in the news today. You know, fuck the traveling 260 miles to Durham. What's this shit about AI that you're always on about? Why are you associated, for example, this guy's associated with people who are behind the track and trace app. This app shit. That's another thing that's not a conspiracy. So the suppression of anything having to do with 5G being, they say it's because of the health thing, and that's why a few of these videos that I did, you'll notice I make a few 5G references. I think the first one I say, and no, I'm not talking about 5G, right? To hammer home, are you allowed to criticize it for cultural reasons? Are you allowed to criticize it for educational reasons, even spiritual reasons? Or is it just the health reasons? It's very open-ended right now. But we do know that you're telling people that you're rerouting shit to the WHO. And I understand that YouTube is a private company, theoretically. Well, I think it's publicly, I'm not an economist. I don't know how the shit works. But theoretically, it's supposed to be a free platform. The BBC is a taxpayer-funded thing. So when a taxpayer-funded institution goes to that company and says, do this, or Ofcom gets involved, that's not a conspiracy. That actually happened. And it happened in another instance. There's this guy, Pastor Chris. And here's the thing. I've said this before. The holy trinity of government, science, technology, I'm not a communist. It doesn't work for me. So I don't know if any of you watching this might feel the same. But, you know, what works for me is art, creativity, the beauty of nature. You know, the climate change people, the main thing for me, those guys were not real environmentalism. They didn't care about conserving nature. They wanted to fuck up the landscape with these wind turbines. There was an article in the BBC News in the midst of this whole pandemic, why planting trees may not necessarily be good for the environment. And then there was another story that said, let's not forget the climate change, blah, 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 during the whole coronavirus thing. And that when this is over, we should try to get people into green jobs and think less road work, more broadband. And they specifically mentioned broadband, and I kept thinking, how convenient would that be for both? Because technology knows nothing about nature. How convenient would that be? That just take all the trees, you know, throw them some. Who knows who's throwing who what, as far as scientific data? But some weirdo in Oxford says planting trees may actually be bad for the environment. So they throw that to the climate change people and they go, oh, well then don't plant any trees then. No emissions or whatever the fucking thing is. And then meanwhile, the wireless companies, which by the way, I discovered this during the pandemic. I had no idea. They don't need permission. By and large, they don't need planning permission to just fucking put up towers wherever they want. So they get what they want out of this too. And perhaps use the politicians as their spokespeople. Because there's, who knows, money involved, I don't know, secrets, whatever, who knows. But this, the Pastor Chris thing I'll mention real quickly, because to me this is a Nigerian pastor. And Ofcom, apparently this guy, my girlfriend saw some chalk. She was out in the park the other day, and she saw some chalk where somebody had written something about love and truth, Pastor Chris, and there was a link. And as we were looking this guy up, because you're just curious, like what do other people think about this? You know, because you can't trust anybody. It seems like, what, aside from the news, aside from the politicians, the scientists, the technocrats, what do other people, what do religious people think about this? Because I'll tell you one thing, we're not hearing from them out here. Justin Welby, he did this little, well, I'm in my kitchen for Easter. Who'd have thought? He did that shtick. Now he's, kicking back for a while, waiting for the government or the Mark Zuckerberg or the Bill Gates to tell him what to do. Sitting around, sunbathing in Canterbury Cathedral, probably trying on Thomas Beckett's clothes, keeping it all from the public, just like they are in Westminster Abbey and York Minster. People are dying. People were dying, and they took them at face value, and they didn't go see their relatives. And this guy Dominic Cummings, up and down, and I think this is really going to fuck them up. And I think what it is, they can't just turn the lights on tomorrow and say that's it, because people would say, then what was it then? But if they do it bit by bit, it's a bit like, my stomach still hurts. I can't go back to school yet. I still kind of got a headache. I mean, we've all done this. I mean, apply the individual to the collective, and maybe the community moves like an individual sometimes. Maybe the community right now is going, I don't know if I'm ready to go back to school. Yeah, but what if it's not safe? My niece did that. My niece texted me from Missouri, and she said, I'm going to have to go to school soon. There's still people getting infected. And I'm going, do you want to go to school? Or, because I used to not want to go to school when I was a kid too. I get it. I don't know, right? And there's some things too. I keep thinking this is gonna kill bad comedy. It might kill good comedy too. I'm not guaranteeing anything's good going to come out of it. But comedians are flailing, man, and stripped of all of that canned laughter and the social obligation to laugh and to bring your date and go, he was good, wasn't he? That's like that. Frying pans do that, don't they? That's all stripped away, and they got nothing to say, man. And I might not have anything to say either, but I liked what I had to say in those last 3 videos, and I think that's what it was. I put those out there, and I was like, if I had to die tomorrow, if I had to die, you have to die tomorrow. If I died tomorrow, and that was, I would say, as I see the world as it is, this is how it is. The BBC were saying, and they're not offering, it'd be one thing that they don't offer any proof. They always say the 5G theories are completely inaccurate. And they never say why they're inaccurate. They just say they're inaccurate, and that's that, and this is what we've done to protect you from fake news. They even had a story about volunteers. Here are the people volunteering to fight fake news during the pandemic. Where were you people? Where were you people? All these, and it's an internet speed is at stake here, isn't it? So this guy, Pastor Chris, we looked him up, and we saw that Ofcom, which is, I think in America it's called the FCC, which is the kind of the censors of the broadcasting world. They decide what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And the BBC used them to go to YouTube to say everything's got to be rerouted through the WHO. That's not a conspiracy. That actually happened. And so we looked up, and then we see this story come up about Pastor Chris. Who's this Pastor Chris? This thing that was written on chalk in an English park. And the Ofcom sanctioned. I don't know what that means, but they sanctioned. I don't know. I have no idea what that means in broadcasting terms. They have sanctioned this Nigerian pastor who's in Lagos, who's in Nigeria, for what he said about 5G. I mean, in a sermon, and you know what that's called? That's called colonialism, right? That's called the white people from who know better than the Nigerians are going to dip their hands into the church because they actually did at one point in the article. Ofcom said he needs to say blah 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 blah. If he mentions 5G, he's got to go blah 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 blah. So you're going to go from here in the UK. You're going to go to Nigeria and sanction them, whatever the hell that means, and tell him what he should say in his sermons. to a Nigerian preacher. This is the kind of shit, that's not a conspiracy either. That actually happened. So we watched this guy's video, and he's a very slow and deliberate preacher. It takes him about 17 minutes. I think that's the one that's the one they censored, was the 17 minutes. And he's talking about 5G taking away man's free will. Now, I'm sure there's a lot that I would not agree with. Who knows? Maybe there isn't. I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I'm going to say this right now because I'm going to say some shit that I was wrong about. I was wrong about Boris, and I was wrong about Brexit. I still support Brexit. But here's where I was stupid. It never occurred to me to consider how much of China might own the UK. Thames Water. Thames Water, heavily invested in by Chinese CCP companies. Who knows? But that's, short sovereignty. I mean, it was all about sovereignty. Let Britain be Britain. That's what I thought. Let Britain be Britain. And I didn't know it was going to get hijacked by communists of the sort of the Comedy Unleashed, spiked, Brexit Party, Academy of Ideas nexus. I want to get back to Claire Fox real quick. Every time that I'm taking the piss out of her, not taking the piss, I mean attacking this woman, because she's not really, the problem sometimes is that people in this country can be too polite, even if they vehemently disagree with somebody. So, Claire, I have to say, when it comes to your stance on a government ban on child pornography, I really must disagree. Somebody needs to say, listen, you university pig, right? Like a real, get a cockney in it. I've got fucking kids, you fucking pig. That's what we need to hear. We need to hear that. Or I think she needs to hear that, because they love to bang on about the working classes and what the working classes need. And Brendan O'Neill, rise up, dissent, working classes, right? Except when it comes to Johnson. He's Johnson's unofficial propagandist now. Banging on about that. And I was reading, so every time I write something about that, I always double check. I can never double check that enough, because to me it is such an atrocious thing to say, I'm so free, I don't believe in a government ban on child pornography. That's how free I am, man. Get with the program, Grandma. And by the way, what have you done? I run the Academy of Ideas. I always double check that. It was like that seriously, that can't be right. I don't know, 20, 30 times I've checked it. There it is. Checked it again. Yes, that's her stance. And she's sticking to her guns, just like she's sticking to her guns about not apologizing for IRA victims. Because she's so revolutionary. She wore a beret at uni. And the last time I checked this, I saw in an article, she takes money from Pfizer, right? Takes money from Pfizer, and in the interview she was asked, doesn't that shape what you write about Pfizer? And she's going, no, because I already agree with Pfizer. Now this woman hosts panels all the time about snowflake millennials, weak millennials. They're too weak, they're snowflakey, they're too woke. The stuff Andrew Doyle and the Joe Rogans, all these motherfuckers, the woke. And she takes money from Pfizer, who are the very people that dispense pills to children anytime they exhibit a natural passion or interest or emotion, something, living human beings. They dope them up. They regulate their emotions. An idiot. Okay, here's another thing we've been seeing. Everything's been ramped up. So something like the climate change thing, for example, since 2006, that's been a steady lie, right? It's been very slow. 2006, I remember, because The Inconvenient Truth came out in 2006. Everybody in San Francisco, wow, this really tells the truth, right? People will buy anything. Talk about a snake oil salesman. If you look at this line is red. This line over here is green. Green and red, two different colors. Wow. Since 2000, what is it? So that's 14 years till we got to the point where, yes, I'm a conservative prime minister and we will go carbon neutral by 2050. These new Tories, they redefine marriage They want to go the climate change ending by 2050. What the fuck the mission? Blah blah blah. And then the mental health. My big thing is mental health. That's another thing. So what's happened during the COVID-19 thing is all of these lies have faster, right? They're moving at 5G speed. You know, the lies. You know, the lie. I mean, how do I prove it's a lie? Well, the mental health thing is a lie. What's happened is that they've made the world insane, right? They've redefined everything that was normal. You know, until they got to the point where they were even debating about what a man and a woman was. Redefined all of that, made the world insane. And then they've told us mental health awareness is a great concern for so many. Mental health concerns, sponsored by Pfizer. Right, so Claire Fox over here with her anti-woke and the woke, it's the same shit. It's the same fucking shit, man. She's just she's either a shit stirrer or she really believes this shit. And the reason I bring this up, because this is the mentality, this to me seems like the mentality of what's happening in number 10. Well, we know it is, because it's the new Tories. These are not Tories that believe in God. These are not Tories that have any convictions other than probably an Ayn Rand profit, build, buy, sell. You know, it's all one big mushy mashy and more computers for the classroom. Well, the Tories did it. Somebody stood up in Parliament the other day. Well, not the other, a couple of weeks ago, because they were talking about digitally impoverished children. There's many children that are digitally impoverished. Does that mean that they can't learn? Are you saying that they can't learn anything? What are you saying, you creep? Are you saying they can't learn? You limiting, soulless creep? The BBC was running stories about digitally impoverished children and how bad this was for their education. You know, because they probably got some old dumb old Bible people sitting at home with their kids reading the old dumb Bible, giving all that Judean history. You know, what a stupid reductive mindset. Digitally impoverished. Fuck you. And then some fucker stands up in the House of Commons and he says, I would like the Education Secretary to assure me that after this crisis has passed, these digitally impoverished children who are receiving iPads right now, this will continue on in the schools, this technology, and will be made available to students. And of course, the Education Secretary said, of course, yes, of course, we're committed to continuing the technology in the classroom. Why are you the Education Secretary, my God? My God, man, why are you the Education Secretary? This is not about giving lip service to Apple, you motherfucker. They're shielding criticism, unless I'm going mad. No, they're doing this. This is not a conspiracy theory. They are shielding criticism, at least on health levels, about an internet speed, because the deal's been done, and because there's actually no sovereignty here. I was wrong about Boris, because I said the last time I was on television before the election, I said I wouldn't mind somebody funny, because that's what it's to me. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I was in comedy, and I was in a very serious, algorithmic, boring world. You know, if just whatever. My show about anorexia. So you had the Oprah Winfrey type of show over here, and then the Comedy Unleashed people came along, and I just, they're giving me work, and they're letting me do what I want to do, you know, up to a point they did. Let me do what I want to do until I find out who you are, and then want to ridicule the people that kind of pull your strings, and then I'm out the fucking door, you know. But it was a nice ride while we had it. But you're still the same. You're just bad comedians, but you're using the different snowflake, trigger warning. Yeah, I've read in the Guardian today. The Guardian. You know, I'd already gotten bored with them, but I did go on television. I said to me, you know, it might be funny, because we did have Theresa May before that, whose big conservative promises were ending whatever the extinction people wanted, you know, the gun to the head thing. Like, okay, 2050, there'll be no more carbon in the world. Please let me live. Please let me live. More wind turbines in your stomach. Please let me live. And then there was the other big thing. Mental health awareness will be part of my premiership. Mental health awareness. What you mean is keeping us unaware of how fucking insane this world is. And not allowing us to react in a normal way to this fucking madness, to this de facto protection of an internet speed and education secretaries. Of course these iPads will continue on for years to come. Centuries later we'll look back, because we'll all be AI regenerated in our cryogenics lab. Creeps. My girlfriend and I watched this movie Ex Machina, where they make the woman that, and here's the thing, I never had any interest in robots. I wasn't really a sci-fi guy until many years later I found Philip K. Dick, because his kind of blends with religion a little bit. He gets very mystical, as some of you know who might have read Valis. And I'm sorry, I've lost my place. No, we were watching Ex Machina, and during the China phase of I had a CCP phase of what's going on now. Because what's happening is, I think it's every country for themselves right now, and I think every country is getting something out of this. For example, in Uganda, the police get to beat their citizens with sticks. In South Africa, get back in your tin homes and go insane. But you can't do that in some places. In some places, we are going to rush forward infrastructure projects at increasing speed. Here's what you got so far. You get to have luxury flats. There's 31 down the road, and there's going to be 6 luxury homes here, which has destroyed the garden, the vast, beautiful garden that belonged to that care home. The care home. I know aesthetic beauty is not something that people, is really important for the Johnson administration right now. It's the preservation of aesthetic beauty. It was one thing to die and not be able to see your grandchildren, not to have that natural human expression of touch and hugging. You couldn't have that. And guess what, Grandma? You can't have your weeping willows either. That's your visual memory on and your auditory memory as well. You'll get the noise and you'll get the visual. It's Sunday now, so you don't hear it, but you get that. That's what you get. Because guess what? We're Tories who don't believe in God. We have people like Dominic Cummings working for us who are scrambling to shield from criticism right now, and he should have been sacked for his designer baby eugenics. That's the kind of Tories we have now. We had David Cameron give England gay marriage, whether you're for it or against it. That's not conservative. It's not the idea of conserving a tradition. So he did that. Theresa May is going to end climate change emissions. That's not conservative either. The mental health thing, you might as well just say, we work for Pfizer, GlaxoSmith, welcome. We like to dispense pills hither and thither, and if we can't dispense the pills, we've got government psychologists here to make sure you don't crack up while we rearrange reality. But I went to the CCP phase, and I'm still there because obviously, right? Every country might get something. Every country's leadership might get something out of this. For example, China got Hong Kong, didn't they? Right? They kind of, right? That worked out for them, didn't it? They managed to get Hong Kong. Who knows? And then I think it looks like in America, every state is getting what they want. But during the midst of the China thing, there was shit that I didn't know about, robots. And when I would see a story about robots, instinctually, I don't agree with robots. I think if people don't work in jobs, then robots will work in jobs, and therefore and I'm not an economist, but it seems to me that the robot makers, which seems to be they're not like a lot of robots. It seems to be like always some weirdo, making robots. So it doesn't seem like a factory of blue-collar guy. Yeah, fuck, man, it's another 8 hours a day fucking designing apps. Fucking afterwards, Militime, man. It's not blue-collar guys. It's little appy guys. The kind of guys in school that couldn't get girls. Those guys. Can you imagine if it was a real Revenge of the Nerds? I think we might be paying for it now. Because here's another thing that's not a conspiracy. The app. That's not a conspiracy. We think that the best way forward is to go to the Isle of Wight and test this out on old people because they like shiny gadgets, and we'll give them all a free phone, and they'll probably say, "Ooh, wow, just like my granddaughter has. Oh, look at me on the Isle of Wight oh, I get my free government phone. Oh, I'm using an app just like my granddaughter. Look at me on the app. Oh." Yeah, this Facebook and social media and all this shit has made everybody the same age, hasn't it? You know, I have grown men that say. I criticized Joe Rogan the other day because I'd only seen fucking 10 minutes of Joe Rogan because I was impersonating him and I hadn't seen him. My girlfriend was filming me and I said, "Hey guys, Joe Rogan here, the Joe Rogan Experience." I'd never seen the guy before. So I said, let's watch 10 minutes just to make sure that my girlfriend said, that's kind of what he is. And, we watched it and I said, yeah, okay. But one thing that I noticed was it wasn't. Well, here's what he's got this $100 million deal in the midst of this economic crisis. He gets $100 million from Spotify, right? And I read this thing, and it's not. I would never want to do what he does. I would never. He's like a gym guy, a bald gym guy, and it's the woke whatever. Please don't defend Joe Rogan because I won't read it anyway, and it'll just be like, okay, if you like him, that's your thing. Because that's what happened on Facebook. Because what I said, I was making a joke about the word creative. And in the story, he said, Spotify have said that there's going to be no creative control over what I do. And I said, but that's despite the fact that there's no creativity in the show. And you can take that as an insult or not, but it's not. It's just, there's lots of people who sit down and talk. I'm talking right now. And they sit there, but they got fancy microphones and a backdrop and the headphones and. And it's. Did you read in the Guardian? What's this? And like the head of Disney, I think she's a woman. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Should I check that? I don't know. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she's a woman. Anyway, And I said, what do you mean creative? What are the creative? Like you have to get. What's the creative control? That you have to get a new chair, or a purple microphone? How are they going to control you? You're not Monty Python. And I know but it's a word. Like if you do a voiceover I used to do voiceovers, and they'd say, "Are you the talent?" And I said, "What? I'm the whole. Yes, I'm the whole talent of the whole world. I'm the talent." They use these words, and I get like content. Make some content. It's these new words that they use. So yes, they didn't really mean. He didn't really mean creativity. But I put that up on Facebook, and of all the shit that I have written about Toby Young's eugenics and his Dominic Cummings, all of this really nasty shit in the world. Like we have a woman now who's got her mitts in educational institutions who doesn't think the government should ban child pornography because her definition of libertarian freedom. That's really an issue, man. If Joe Rogan had known about that when he had Andrew Doyle on, would they have talked about something other, for example, than whether lesbians should kiss in Star Wars? Who knows? I'm sure maybe he didn't know this. Maybe he didn't know about Andrew's connections and the fact that Comedy Unleashed were so defensive of people like that, that they were above criticism. Because that's what I did with I'm Claire Fox. One of my favorite lines, if you haven't seen the live video of that night, my last gig at Comedy Unleashed, one of my favorite scenes is when the guy says, this is Claire Fox, and here are some friends of hers, an IRA bomber, a jihadi, and a pedophile. Right? And to me, that just summed up, Mrs. Freedom. Here you go, Mrs. Freedom. Here's all your buddies that have benefited from your notion of freedom. She doesn't believe in banning jihadi videos, jihadi recruitment. Doesn't believe in banning it. No, does not believe in banning that. So here's all your buddies. I love that line. It's satire. Very protective. But if Joe Rogan had known, they could have talked about something other than that. And that's what happened. I was on the phone to Andrew Doyle saying, what do you think about what she said? Do you have a problem with Toby Young's eugenics? Do you have a problem with the fact that he said, you can improve, I know you believe in the principle of debate, but what do you believe? Underneath all of these tweets and fake profiles, some of which he's used on here to comment, Will, I was thinking in the comfort of my own cowardice where I can hide behind a fake profile, I was thinking about something you said. Crazy. You can see why I didn't want to do one of these for a while. I hope you enjoy it. So what do I think? Neil Ferguson, the guy that made this computer model for the way the world behaves, largely, I guess Fauci was involved in the States or whatever, but, the way the world behaves right now, the kinky masks that people wear, they're talking about, there could be some privacy issues with the contact tracing. There could, but maybe there couldn't. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's just float it up the flagpole. Right? This Ferguson guy, he came up with the model, and as some of you know, he had his mistress down to see him. So there's two choices. Either he didn't believe in what he was saying, or he didn't give a shit, or both, right? I mean, there's no other way, right? Or am I missing something here? He either didn't believe in his own predictions of 250,000 people dying, or he didn't care. So he had to leave. There was a woman in Scotland did the same, She had to leave. Now, Dominic Cummings, same fucking thing. He either didn't believe in the contamination and infection rate and all this. He either didn't believe, or he didn't care. So what do we do? What do we do with that knowledge? He didn't believe. So I keep thinking, I don't know. To me, it just seems like, because who knows? I've heard everything. I've heard Bill Gates, dipping his mitts into shit again. Vaccines. I'm not getting a vaccine. And I am not a Seventh-day Adventist. I'm not somebody who, has a repulsion to medicine. But anything that's you've got a world now where technology has just fucking stuck its grubby head in. Is it app be the best thing? That's what they did with the Spanish flu, is an app. I know a lot of people died in the Spanish flu, but the app. There's no other way. Just like there's no way to get 2 meters between people at Westminster Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, York Minster, Canterbury Cathedral. No way to do it. Wow. What an innovative generation we live in. Wow. We are so innovative. Sorry. So Dominic Cummings is doing the same shit. This Pastor Chris, did I ever finish that? He's doing a sermon in Nigeria. I told you about this, but to him it takes away the free will. And I could see that argument, because I have started to think that a lot of these jokes that you hear now, that you were hearing in stand-up comedy clubs, they were algorithms. They were like tweets. They were just, this is the formula of a joke, and this is how you do it. I can't imagine Richard Pryor using Twitter. But there was, I think systematically we have become like machines. And one of the things, to get back to the Ex Machina thing, I was looking up what have the Chinese been up to? I know that the Chinese steal and snoop and spy and torture people and make people disappear. People in this country can use social media and then go back to China and get arrested for something they wrote over here. I mean, they've got their fucking mitts far and wide, as we all know. And like I say about the robot thing, I have no interest in robots. All I know is I don't believe in robots. I mean, I believe they exist, but I don't believe in the proliferation of robots. So it's like, okay, just creeps, just ignore the creeps, and maybe common sense will prevail. And something that came up was that the dolls that they're making now, they look very human, and they are. I'd heard that they were doing this, but when you actually see it, sometimes I don't want to watch shit. So, did you see these dolls are making? I was like, oh, fuck that. I would always dismiss it, but here I am watching this. Hello, I'm Dorothy. How can I? And the guy that's making them is like, oh yeah, we find out if it is a very attractive female doll or a very handsome male doll, it will receive more positive. And he's like, why are you making these? Is anybody of these good, diligent journalists? I know it's China and the truth is not allowed, but are any of these journalists, they want to be the Edward R. Murrow of their day? They want to get the big scoops, Malone, get out there, get the truth. Are any of you asking them there's a question, why in fuck's name are you building these things? And is there any other answer than money? There might be one other answer than money, and that's because these people are fucking weirdos. They're perverts. Well, this is Dorothy X12. And why did you make Dorothy X12? Was there a need for Dorothy X12? Were you not able to say hello to an actual woman? Is this the Chinese version of incel? Yes, Dorothy, come here. Oh, hello. I'm Dorothy. Fucking hell, man. This technology, there was how many of you remember this global concert they had? Hey, my seagull's back. My seagull's back. He didn't stay away. He didn't come. He's been here for 4 months, my seagull, and he was gone yesterday for the first time, and I was very, very worried. But he's back today. He even landed on the windowsill today for the first time. I believe in God. I will just come out and say it, because who cares? What am I going to do? Lose some gigs? Lose some more gigs? Yeah, well, I mean, you're a bit like God bashing. I believe in everything. And if you want to call God art, excellence, creativity, the cosmos, the bird's ability to know, to care for her young, however you want to define God, what I mean is something that does not make government, science, or technology the be all and end all of human existence. And that's what it is. What else did I write down here? So I was wrong about Boris. And here's what happened for me first was so 2016, as many of you know, that was the Brexit Trump year. And then I made this documentary on William Blake. Because what I thought with Brexit and Trump, this is my naive, optimism. I thought, now back to rock and roll. Who's going to be the next David Bowie? Where's the next Beatles? Where's the boom, rock and roll. Now, let's bring it on, man. Let's go to the cosmos. Let's do something crazy and wild and creative and brilliant and beautiful. I didn't know it was going to be 3 more years of like, hey, we're having a debate forum. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, so why not? Why we should push for factories and more talk and boom, 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 and debates. I made a William Blake documentary because my friend Scott got a camera and nobody wanted to work with me anyway back then because it was still, except for Comedy Unleashed, I wasn't getting any gigs. It's like, this is why I don't like the mental health shit, because I get this all the time. I got it from the left wing and now I'm getting it from the right wing. He's a little bit bitter. I don't know, Will. This sounds a bit bitter. It sounds bitter. And so, do you find the world as it is right now and all we're going through, do you find it a reason to go, cheer up, squad, could be all right? It's like, people are wearing masks, man. Not everybody. But Boris has opened up luxury flats. You can have your cleaner over, but you can't have your relative. I don't think. You can't have your elderly grandmother come over. You still can't go into the care home to hug her. But you can have your cleaner, if you have a cleaner, right? You can have that, and the housing market. Thank God the housing, because I was worried who was going to live in 31 luxury flats. The housing market is open. And they showed on the news the night that they opened the housing market. Everybody's anxious for the housing market to open, especially the luxury housing market. Who wouldn't want to live in the luxury? And they showed an estate agent showing somebody a home. And they were both wearing masks. And what was very creepy is that they were very well dressed, and they both had masks on. And and the kitchen is over here. Oh, this is great, And because they were wearing masks, this looks like a pervert's dream. And I'm not saying that's it. I'd say people are saying about that, but it looks kinky. And I don't know. That's just speculation, obviously. But I just don't like the aesthetics of it. And again, aesthetics. Well, we can't have aesthetics. It's better to chop down a few trees and put up a few towers. Then that's it. Rush and defend our internet speed. And I know I'm using the internet. I know there's always people out there with these gotcha. Yeah, but aren't you using the internet right now? Yes, but you know what? I have put this is a 5-year-old computer. It's a 5-year-old phone, and I'm not going to step and fetch it for Apple anymore. I haven't had WhatsApp for God knows how long. I can't take photos on that phone, but I'm not going to step and fetch it and get it a new phone so I can check. I can't even check my bank account on there anymore. But I'm tired of stepping and fetching it for the tech people. They don't give a fuck. They look at people. It's a video game culture. That's why people say things like, I put that thing about Joe Rogan. All I said was he's not. Where's the creativity? What are they going to tell you not to say? You can't do the David Letterman had Larry Bud Melman, Chris Elliott, the top 10 list, all sorts of crazy shit. But you're just talking to people. Crazy. But people just rushed into, oh, there's a fight with a crow and a seagull. They went crazy. And this one guy says, he is creative. He's got the most views of all time. Or something like that. But this is stuff that my mother told me when I was a kid. Like, if everybody jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, you're saying, you're equating quality with the number of views, and that's a video game mentality. I don't care if I've got 4,000 subscribers, and I think a lot of you got here through the Greta Thunberg thing, and I thank you for hanging around, especially after the Comedy Unleashed thing. That showed me that you were able to think for yourselves. There's a lot of people that, I got people after that saying, "Hi, Will, I just want to make sure we're still friends, because I'm still friends with the Comedy Unleashed." I say, if you have to ask me that question, it's like, what is it? What are we in? Are you in 6th grade? Do you have a problem with a woman saying that there shouldn't be a government ban on child pornography? Don't you see through her bullshit? What do you think about Toby Young saying this? Don't you think that's nepotistic of them for them to book him? Do you think that was right of them to, when I questioned them on these things, that they yanked down all my videos and then lied about me? And you want to know if you can still be friends? Oh, fuck you. You fence straddling motherfucker. Hi, Will. I hope you don't mind me. Adolf Hitler and I have been friends for a long time, mate. I said, I know, it's really unfortunate. Fuck you. These are the people with their theories on eugenics. These are the people that you came to Holland in the 40s. They would have said, "Oh, Anne Frank's house? Yep, right over there." Right. It's all conflict anyway. That's how we resolve everything. Well, I'm a different kind of conservative. I don't believe in God. So anything's up for grabs. Yep, she's right over there. It's the upstairs. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Look, if you're ever looking for people to host think tanks on why you guys maybe aren't so bad, little debate panels, because what we believe in is ultimate absolute freedom. We believe in it so much that we figured out a way to charge for it. That's how free we are. We figured out a way to charge for it, profit off of it, kidnap culture, put people in number 10 like Andrew Sabisky, and Dominic Cummings, and an education secretary who says, "Of course, iPads." And who else we got? We had Grant Shopps the other day. This guy, he's a transport secretary. I'll smoke one more cigarette and that's it. And I hope this has been somewhat entertaining. I don't know. I'm flying on the seat of my pants. There's my seagull again. You've been a good boy. You're going to get some bread afterwards. It's good to go mad. It's like the prisoner. They send you to the hospital. Will's bitter. I think he's really bitter. Yes. I am, and so were most of my heroes, I think, and that's why they in their own small way tried to do something about it. They didn't sit around and go, "Yeah, I decided I got on Zolantropron, and then I've been on Megaplex. What's a good pill name? Zortron. It's always just like outer space planet names, aren't they? Earthrek. That's really good. And Zonator. Zonator is good for my anxiety, for my hand. I have a hand problem too. It's always doing that with my own words. Yeah, and I take Remicon for that. And, the pill people. And did you know this? Scotland's, the guy on the press conference every day, Scotland's health minister guy, the guy speaking about the virus every day, is a psychiatrist. And he was, yeah, I may not be a doctor, but you don't know. Your specialty wasn't viruses. Your specialty is dispensing pills for emotions. How did you get the job? How did the psychiatrist get the job with the health? Is he the health? He's either the health minister or the deputy health minister. I saw that one day under the. If you pay attention, you can look. He's a psychiatrist. My name is Dr. Kuchenheimer. In this time of pandemic, I think it's very important that boys know that they can cry too. And we took some celebrities. This is Grendel. He's a TikTok star for all you young people who's into the TikTok. And he's going to tell you a story about why it's okay for boys to cry. Yeah, I was always very scared to share my emotions, because I thought, people will laugh, they point the finger, or they'll rub mud in my face, or they'll say, eat a stick, or or wrap me up in chains, or set fire to me. I was really afraid to show my emotions. Then one day I just sort of cried, and I realized everything's okay. And that's when I wrote my song, "Girl, Come Back to Me." Let me get my iPad and I can play it for you. Girl, come back to me, robot AI. Fucking horrible culture we live. Open the churches. Who wants to do an hour and a half? I was so nervous to talk to you guys. And I still feel like it's disjointed. I feel like with me, it's always wheels within wheels when I start talking. It's like little, it's a matryoshki, the Russian nesting dolls. I always loved those. I used to have one. I used to have a few. Microcosm, macrocosm, And that's what it is. I'll start something and then remember it later, but I never know if it completely syncs up or not. I may have left a lot of unwoven threads in this tapestry, but I am coming to life. And if you want to see more of these, please do consider becoming a patron. So where do I think about it? I think it's, I think we are, I don't know. I think my hunch is that, Grant Shapps, I was going to conclude with this. The transport secretary. Now, have you noticed how much money's being thrown around everywhere you go? My girlfriend and I were playing a game the other day, and I said, you pretend to be a reporter and ask me about some industry. And she said, okay, what about hair salons? And I said, that is what, of course, I'm deeply concerned about hair salon owners, and that is why I'm committing £525 billion package to help increase social distancing measures in salons when we reopen. Next question. And so it's like the idea being that in answer to, oh yes, little baby, I'll get you some bread in a minute. The idea being that the answer to every question is just make up a number of money that you're going to throw at it. And to show our commitment to care homes in this crisis, we're committing $16 quadrillion and pounds and yen to the product. And as far as transport, I'm happy to announce today that a £283 million package will be unveiled. And we got the package here, and we're going to unveil it. And look at see, that's real bars of gold. And we've also got some diamonds we're going to give to it. And here's some gems. And for those suffering from losing their jobs, here's some emeralds and sapphires. And we also have a treasure chest of the kind that you get at the bottom of an aquarium. This has the Hope Diamond in it, and we are committed. Just every day it's a different number. 704, 57, 200 million buckatrillions. That's what Grant Shapps did the other day. He came out and he said, public transport's going to run at 1/5 of its capacity. Blah, blah, blah. However, he says the good news, and this is the day that Dominic Cummings, the whole thing came out with him, that he went on these road trips. Because again, he either didn't believe or didn't get, so the government's top advisor either did not believe, like Neil Ferguson, either didn't believe that this was a real deal or didn't care. It's one of the others. Otherwise, he would have stayed put in London. He looks like a very video game guy. He's the new Tory, right? He was AI. Look him up, Dominic Cummings, AI. Very interesting AI. There was an advert, by the way. If you remember the early days of the lockdown, there was the global project, the One World Concert, Together Alone at Home, or whatever it's called. And there was an advert, because I had it on the background. The advert said, it was for IBM, and it said, AI is helping educators in the classroom. And what is this AI shit? Artificial. That's another thing. Like with robots, it was always, who does this serve? Read your Neil Postman. I love this. He always says, anytime there's a new technology or a new improvement on a technology, there's a question that we should ask ourselves. And the first question, he has a series of 7, but the first question is always, what problem was this going to solve? And I've always thought of this when it comes to the self-checkouts. What problem did that solve? Was it really a ball ache to go, and here's your change, sir? It didn't serve the people who were working on the tills. It got rid of all those jobs and replaced them with one, which is just a person to say, it's an okay. Yeah, you just can't do that. Yeah, it's tricky sometimes. I'll just stand over here and point to the machines again. Machine. They have them everywhere. The proliferation of the machines. In San Francisco, you'd see them in the train stations. There'd be somebody there whose job was to say, "Go to the machine," and I would always say, soon they're going to get a machine to tell us to go to the machines. They'll replace you with the machine. Machine. And then we'll either continue to outsource the manufacturing jobs for these machines to places like China, or maybe our respective Western countries will be so gutted economically that we'll have to do some of that slave wage labor here as well. So maybe the iPhone construction can happen anywhere now. Maybe it doesn't have to just be in Microsoft China. Maybe they can build them anywhere now. Because maybe everybody going to on the very poor wages, from the mandarins at the top, who building now luxury flats, and also they have a cleaner can come, cleaner and golf course open. I'm happy to say, because you all been so good, everybody been so good and well behaved. Today I open the golf courses again. What? Churches, please, no, stop. We cannot waste time. Churches, worship digitally if you must worship at all. But I have better news. Also, next week, we are going to open the housing market again for 31 luxury. You know me, they're gonna. That's always been the way it is. People at the top not giving a shit about the people at the bottom, but it's always been that way, hasn't it? It's just so bloody naked now, isn't it? It really is, because we're seeing it at such a fast speed. Like, who are you people? Where are you going? Where are you taking this culture? And I'm glad to see so many people waking up to this. It's funny because I was opposed to the Huawei 5G thing. I was opposed to 5G. Fuck just Huawei. Just the idea of 5G. It's like what? It's bad enough with 4G. If you show me some improvements that this has made to society. Has it improved education? Will it improve education? Absolutely not. Leave the health. I know everything's got to go through Mark Zuckerberg's WHO, because there's only one health opinion on anything. But culturally, who speaks on behalf of 5G culturally? What is the cultural effect of 5G? What is the educational effect? There's nothing. The kid puts on the goggles and he goes through it. Yeah. Let's make your kid half robot. So Pastor Chris was talking about that in his very slow sermon in Nigeria. When he would find out eventually that he was being sanctioned by a UK government body. I mean, fucking weird. That's like when the Chinese citizens come over here and they write something slagging off the CCP and they go back and they get. What are you doing? Like, are you? This is technological colonialism, isn't it? If I may say so myself. You may not believe what he's saying. I mean, he's talking about the Garden of Eden and the fruit of knowledge and all that, But even if you believe that as a metaphor, that man is becoming part machine, and that basically the destruction of free will, I could see that argument. But then again, we're talking a theological argument. We're talking something that, the government, technological, and scientific nexus will never take into account things like aesthetics or things like a spiritual dimension to all this. There's a clear spiritual dimension to this. When we were in lockdown, I'm sure a lot of people decided to figure out what was important and what wasn't. And, when people were really thinking this could take any one of us when it first kicked off. And now it's a situation where so Grant Shapps, he comes out today and he's all chipper. And you're wondering why the Dominic Cummings story broke yesterday about his trips, and instead of sending out Boris, they send out the transport secretary. And he's talking about, it's going to be public transport, it's going to be a little bit limited. But the great news is we are taking advantage of this opportunity to really push forward some great new infrastructure projects when it comes to cycling. And that's why I'm announcing £283 million to be invested in and he's doing this. It's a really, wow. Wow, this is wonderful. They're really go-getters, aren't they? But it's the wording. It's like, people are going to ask you about Dominic Cummings and whether or not he believed this stuff or not. Actually, they're not asking that. They're just, Nobody's asking that question. I think hopefully they'll eventually ask that question. Do you think Dominic Cummings, by doing this, expressed his disbelief that this was a bad pandemic? You know, or do you think possibly he didn't take it seriously because he didn't believe in it? Maybe they'll get to that. But I think maybe the news is afraid to say that. They're afraid to say, of course, it's a given that it's that we had to do this, but I don't know, man. There's so many dimensions that won't be considered. And I suppose this way, that's not true, actually, because in the Renaissance, they did value art. You always think there was a time, they never really valued art. No, there was a time there were times in history where they really valued art. And usually in times where people had kind of more of a belief in God instead of blind, stupid, atheistic materialism. I said this before, that not every atheist is a Richard Dawkins. What's his name? Very smart intellectual. Some atheists just buy plasma screen TVs and I don't know, it's all a bit about I went to church once. He was like, he said, geezer looks at me funny. I was like, don't need that shit in my life, do I? Yeah, geezer's like, I'm not fair. I think they're all up in the clouds, yeah. That's just my thing. But I think if you don't have anything, whether that's God or whatever, if you don't have any inner life or passion even, you will, maybe your passion will be kind of rearranging the human condition. Bill Gates, that creep.
I think if we go to Africa and we introduce birth spacing.
So you're going to, how many African women got a hold of you, Bill fucking Gates, and said, could you please come to Africa and show us when and how to have babies? You fucking weirdo. If you didn't have a wife, you would be an incel in your 60s or whatever you are.
Bill Gates. I was playing with my people today. These are my favorites. These are my Africans. And watch what happens when I do this. I'm spacing their births apart. Look, the population goes down.
There's a woman, she's taken a case to the high court. She has there was a news story today, and she has a Down syndrome, a child with Down syndrome. And she says that they were pressuring her to have an abortion. That the wording was basically, you might want to kill your child, you might abort, you might want to abort your child. And she's suing them. And it's funny, they had Frank Furedi's wife. Now, Frank Furedi is the guy who started this revolutionary communist party, which Claire Fox, Andy Shaw, Andrew Doyle all came out of. And his wife runs it's the largest UK abortion provider in this country. Now, I'm not talking about pro or con here. I'm just saying she comes out here, does her little lip service for abortion. And this woman's there with her Down syndrome child saying she wants to get a bill passed where the rights of disabled children, unborn disabled children, are protected. And good luck to her, because I have seen, there's so much that people ho hum about. They ho hum. It's a ho hum culture. And the stuff they get outraged about, I think it's changing now. I think people are saying, who are the weirdos that run this world? Who are the creeps that have got us into this position? I think people might really start to ask themselves some real questions. But we've been so ho-hum about so many things for so long. Your child's doped up on drugs, they're dependent on drugs that some quack psychologist gave them. They're fucked up on that, and they're sitting in a room all day long playing, whatever, Grand Theft Auto and slitting throats, And meanwhile, teachers are saying, okay, today for our lesson, we're all going to Marble Arch, and we're going to have a sit-in, man, until Theresa May says, I promise we're going to get rid of carbon. And now you add the closed churches, and the vicars in hiding. God, I don't want to go to work today. You know how hard it is to take that wafer and break it every single day? Oh my God, I got sunburns. holding the Eucharist. Oh, it's got to take it anymore. Oh, God, so dreadfully bored. There's that Kierkegaard movie, The Winter Light. But that, if you haven't seen it, I think it's the second in a trilogy, which I believe includes Wild Strawberries. The Bergman film Winter Light. It's about a vicar in a small village who's constantly wondering what the point is. And I don't want to give away the ending, but he grapples with it. He's got a small congregation. He doesn't see, why do I go on doing this every day? I've got 4 people who come to service, and he's conflicted about what his role is, what God's role is for him, And I strongly encourage you to see it, the Winter Light, if you haven't seen it. We're going to go for 90 minutes. We're not going to stop no matter what. I hope you enjoy this, and if you want to see more of these types of things, I did one on putting up. I was putting up signs, ramshackles. I'm not a protest. I've never been a protester, but just writing on pieces of lined paper, with what limited means I had, open the churches. We need God, not technology. It's pitiful. You had a guy traveling up and down England and telling everybody else, you can't hug your grandmother. You can't say goodbye to your mother. There were DNR orders. I don't know if you had this in your country in the early days of this. Do not resuscitates left and right. It's a disregard for human life, and the reason I keep bringing up eugenics is because my recent experiences with Comedy Unleashed and how they would react to questions about Claire Fox's stance and some of the things Toby Young has said. Their reaction being to yank me down under the pretext of Will was just upset. But you fucking liars, man. You will go to any just like the government is doing today. This guy Dominic Cummings, man, look him up in eugenics. Right? I don't want those people teaching. I don't want those people involved in education because they limit the human soul. Yes, genes play a factor in appearance, height, what have you. But when it comes to education, man, to me it's a blank slate. And that's the way I operate. And I know because I didn't have the privileged upbringing that Toby Young did, and I didn't need that motherfucker coming to Sedalia, Missouri and saying, "Hi, Mrs. Franken. Hi, I'm Toby Young from the Smart People Institute of Up Your Own Arse Academy. We're doing embryonic selection to improve intelligence in poorer communities." Like, what, are you fucking Albert Einstein? You're one of the stupidest motherfuckers I ever met. You lying fucking moron. It's limiting. It's absolutely limiting. I am that stubborn optimist that I believe in young people's ability to learn, because God was good to me. God was good to me, and I came into this world in a time and a place where I had it was a small country schoolhouse experience where the teachers enjoyed teaching and they were good teachers, and when and I liked the feeling of when I got something right, and maybe it was my upbringing because I never felt like it was hard to please, in my family very early on. All that, I'm not going to get into that, but the point is, I had something filled in me when I got approval from teachers, and they didn't fake it either. They didn't make up that I had done something good. When I had, everybody tried, everybody is equal, everybody did the exact same. It wasn't that. It wasn't a self-esteem exercise. It was good job, and I got known as the bright kid, and I thought if I can do it, anybody can do it, theoretically, and that's the way to go forward. We don't engineer better intelligence out of people. We don't do that, especially Mr. Cummings. If you flirt with artificial intelligence, if you give any credence at all to artificial intelligence being good for culture, you know nothing about intelligence. You know nothing at all about intelligence. And I guess like a lot of us who open our mouths about these things, in the early days we didn't know. It's weird. We just don't, and still to this day, it's like I don't really know who I'm talking to anymore. And I think that's why people. You look at Spiked, right? The mouthpiece for Comedy Unleashed and for the Academy of Ideas. You look at what Spiked, right? They are so defensive of Johnson. It's the snow, because it's their snowflake shit. They get to play their anti-woke bullshit again. They go, the snowflakes are really upset about old Bojo. We're sticking by Bojo here. Yeah. You're going to stick with him and you're going to sing, because I think people are going to wake up and say, how unconcerned are you with the human condition? How unconcerned are you people with human? You don't engineer intelligence. You don't shove screens in front of kids and say, education done, sorted. So did you do the? Yep. We shot all the iPads out of a cannon and they landed safely, and all of so they're educated for the year. Wasn't there churches? Open them up. What do I give a shit? Wait, don't. Yeah, keep them closed. What do I care? I don't even know what a church is. Fuck it. That's not what I signed on for. I mentioned the William Blake documentary. In 2017. I made the William Blake documentary because I thought Trump, Brexit. Okay, now Now we're good. Now let's it's done. The political correctness should be done now. Now there's all this creativity, this waiting to burst forth. And I didn't know it'd be 3 years of endless haggling and bullshit and political groups and in a year. And so what I did was I made the Blake documentary because my friend Scott got a camera and he said, let's make a movie. And I don't know why, but I immediately said, let's make a documentary on William Blake because I wanted to get back to the cosmos. I wanted to get back to the literature and the art and all of that. I wanted to get away from that. We did the political thing. That's done now. And we spent 7-8 months, neither one of us having made a film before, and just telling in my own way through the four Zoas, William Blake's fourfold envisioning of the human condition, the story of William Blake, and then bringing it up to present day. And when I was over, people like Andy Shaw, I thought at the time, this is somebody who's waiting for, he's obviously, he doesn't like political correctness, so he's waiting, what's the big art thing? What's the Ziggy Stardust thing that's going to come out of this, that now that Brexit's happened? And I said, Himmelink, I said, here's the William Blake documentary that I've been working on for 8 months. It was an hour and 40-minute film. And he would email me back and he'd say, hey man, I'm 10 minutes in, loving it, give me these updates of like, okay, I'm able to watch an hour and 40 minutes. I can watch Andrei Rublev, the Tarkovsky film about the Russian iconographer. I can watch that, and I think it's 6.5 hours. I can watch Berlin Alexander plots, which is, I think it's around 24 hours. Crazy fucking, the last 2 hours of that. If you've not seen Berlin Alexander plots, the last 2 hours of that fucking thing will blow your mind. But you have to watch it all. But I want to give it away. But the last 2 hours, the most revolutionary thing I've ever seen in cinema. Fassbinder's Berlin Alexander plots. I can watch all that and not feel like, hey man, 10 minutes in, loving it. This is a tech weirdo. These are tech weirdos. They have to give you little updates. Just like, hey, Will, are we still friends? I know Toby Young's, believes in embryonic selection, but I hope we can still be friends. Okay, I'll ride the fence with you. It's all about interconnectivity and sharedness in our big world. Because the video game is, the more friends you got and the more retweets you win. That's what Kissen said that because Konstantin Kissen got balls after he knew that I wouldn't have to be at Comedy Unleashed anymore. Because he never commented on anything. I have insulted that prick left and right for, 2-3 years now. Never left a comment on anything. All of a sudden, he knew he'd never have to see me in person again. He goes, yeah, good luck making videos for 12 people from your kitchen. Because he's a video game algorithm, right? He thinks 30,000 views means I win. McDonald's is one of the biggest, or was one of the biggest chains for food, and that doesn't make them a Michelin 5-star restaurant, does it? Little schmuck. But so where are we? So I sent Andy the link. This is in 2017, as you know from the film if you've seen it, because I referenced 2017. There's some stuff I probably wouldn't have put in there. I would have put more if I had known more at the time of what was going to happen. As some of you know from the fourth part of the film. I might have rearranged some certain things. But anyway, I didn't. Who knew? We didn't know what was going to happen. So what happened was I sent him, and he was sending me these updates. 20 minutes in, and then I guess he never finished it. And the last, I say I'm about 25 minutes in, like, unsolicited updates on how far he was into the movie, because it's very difficult to watch an hour and 40. I know you have to sit still, and you can't reach for the phone to tweet, to retweet a Titania McGrath tweet. You're constantly sitting there, your phone's like inches away. God damn it, why did Will have to give me an hour and 40-minute film? I can't take it, it's too long. And it's about all this literary stuff, and it takes place in the 18th century, and I can't handle it. It may have been a shit documentary. I don't know. It could have been shit. I liked it. I mostly make stuff for myself, like this Paradise Lost thing. Because I know if I live to be an old man, I know one day I'm going to want to sit down and put on the headphones for 15 hours and listen to the greatest piece of epic poetry that was ever written in the English language, as I hear it, and hopefully leave it behind for future generations to say, when the kids finally get bored or catch on to the con job and say, you know what, I don't think you give a fuck about my education because any idiot can go swipe, swipe, swipe. I don't think you people do care. And if you loved me so much, why wouldn't you let me be me? Why am I on pills? It's like Tony Soprano, and I love that. I love that when he goes, AJ fidgets and he fidgets. He's a fucking 10-year-old kid. He fidgets. Yes. Cut to the chase. What is this all about? What kind of racket is this about? Mental health awareness. It's bringing the men in the white coats, because it wasn't you who made the world crazy. No, it's us. Fuck you. We're onto your con job. So finally, to wrap up the Andy story, he never finished the film, as far as I know, because all I got was I'm 20 minutes in. I get a link. He sends me a link. He was a big link sender. Sends me a link. Frank Ferrati, the RCP guy. Frank Ferrati, speaking about Brexit at whatever, one of those venues in East London. Speaking about Brexit and the common man. I was like, oh God, you guys are just going to debate and talk about Brexit for the rest of your life. You don't care about literature or art or doing something different. It's just more politics. And so that's where I was from 2017 until now. It was boredom, and especially with the move out to something resembling the country. I just checked out. I didn't care. I didn't care. Guardian, Daily Mail. I didn't give a shit. And I would pop up there to do gigs. And until it got to the point where it was like, well, why are you edging me to doing more stuff? Who's paying you to make who am I working for? What is this edging? Nobody's ever tried to edge me into doing stuff. They might have been upset after the fact, but what is this? What is this nudging shit? Because that's what happened. He nudged, and in reaction, I said, in my mind, I said, okay, you want me to do more characters? I'm coming back next month, and I'm doing 20 minutes of characters about people that control you. And that's what happened. I went after the fucking lie. All these people that you're associated with, all these mentalities, all this bullshit about, libertarian freedom, except for the victim of child pornography, that kind of mentality. Yes, I'm going after all you creeps. If you tell me not to look at something, just like the BBC doesn't understand. If you tell me we censored another video, the first thing I'm going to do is, well, where's that video? They're stupid. They're very stupid, unless that's what they want. Then you start wondering, do they actually want that? Do they want us to see the videos? Well, I don't actually believe that, but they're just stupid. I said, here's another video, and this Pastor Chris said some things here, and we told them what to do in Nigeria. So that's what I fear. I don't even know if I fear it. I think that mentality got into number 10. It's this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a very cold, very cyborg-like, technocratic. We see it with this fucking app thing, man. The app thing that wasn't a conspiracy. That actually happened. I don't think it's going to succeed. But the app, what do you mean an app? I walk by somebody and they sniff me, and they're training dogs to sniff for coronavirus, and I don't know where the hell we're going. I don't know how, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. Whatever the hell this was. I'm glad to be mad. I would not want for this world to entirely make sense right now. And I'm glad to see, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm glad to see, really. I'm glad to see my seagull out there. Because he wasn't here yesterday, and I don't know. I like feeding him the bread, and I'm going to give him some food right now. And
Hope you all keep safe and sane and healthy. And remember, you're never farther away than a Zoom call or a Skype session, because I had many problems with anxiety over the years that Xanatraxon is helping me with. Also, my weekly sessions with Bobo. He's my comfort monkey and all that nice stuff. So please consider becoming a patron if you want to see more of these rants. Otherwise, very soon I hope to have some more sketches up for you. Thank you all for all you do. I'm such a stickler for time. I like to see go right to 1 hour and 30, because that's discipline, baby. Discipline. God bless you. Good night.